Okay, good evening. I'd like to call the meeting to order. First item on the agenda is to review and approve minutes. I don't know if everybody's had a chance to review them.
Look at them next month.
Maybe we can look at them next month.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Next item is to sign some bills.
I have two bills. One is from Ecotech for peer review and one is from the Community Advocate. I just alternated them so it was a little easier to grab.
Thank you. Those are first
Okay, we're on to meetings and hearings. And the first one is a new public hearing.
Notice is hereby given in accordance with the provisions of General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, in the Town of Shrewsbury Wetlands Bylaw and Regulations that Adil Ali, 18 Crimson Drive, Shrewsbury, Mass. Has filed a request for determination of applicability for the construction of a home at 18 Crimson Drive.
Well,
Good evening. And your name is?
Adil Ali.
Deal.
And what do we have going on here?
So I'm looking to build an ADU on our property for my parents. As they age, they need a smaller space to stay and be closer to the family and to the grandchildren. So we're looking to build on, if you were looking at our property on the northwest corner, right within our setbacks. There's a wetland on the neighbor's property, kind of closer to the street on the opposite corner. And we're about 91 feet away from that. And our house is kind of the barrier between the two. So if you were to look at our house, we're looking to build on the left side of the house, and the wetland is on the right side on the front corner.
Okay. And then this ADU that you're building is full foundation, and how is it constructed?
Yeah, it's gonna have a full foundation. It's gonna be, it can't exceed 900 square feet, so based off of the space we have, we're gonna try to maximize that.
And then any of the excess materials will be removed?
Yeah, so one of the things that we've described to our builder is that because we're still living in the house, we don't want it to become a construction site, so when they're doing excavation, they're gonna put it on a truck and take it away right away. But it should be minimally invasive in terms of 90% of the foundation is outside the 100-foot buffer. So if you look in that picture, that's kind of the area which is within the 100 feet. And the ADU is actually going to be built towards the opposite side.
Okay. All right. Emily?
I guess this is a question for the applicant or Aaliyah, if you know the answer to this. Who flagged that wetland, or how did we identify? Because it's really small, and I'm wondering if is it connected to anything else, or what is it?
It was flagged by Ecotech for the construction of the home. So
Okay.
it wasn't,
Okay,
this is kind of an older delineation, but because of obviously the large distance to the proposal, it
yeah.
didn't seem to need to be too, but it was an odd, me and Adil had several conversations about this wetland and whether or not it was a valid delineation.
Yeah.
But we went back to the original plans for the construction of the home, and it was flagged by wetland scientists at the time. When we went out in the field to take a look at the wetland, it doesn't seem to be flourishing.
Right. It's like a
But yeah,
drainage
it would have been
area.
probably more work for the applicant to come before us to de-delineate the space.
Yeah.
And more expense, whereas just,
Yep.
this is a more straightforward process.
definitely. I agree. So I guess, and then my only other comment would be to, if stockpiling of materials was necessary, then it would be on that, northwest
It would
side.
not be within the
Yeah.
buffer zone, because like I had mentioned, the house is pretty much blocking. So if you look at the plot plan, yeah,
Right,
so.
yep, makes sense.
Any trucks or anything, they would come from the driveway.
yep,
And any materials that would be needed, they would be on the left side of the driveway, which is also outside. But even that, we're hoping that the builder doesn't need to do that, because like I said, we're still living there, so.
right. That's it for me.
Okay, Diane,
No, I have no questions. Thank you.
Bob,
No questions. I do go down and look at it. It's pretty much a dry area.
Yep.
So I have no problem with it.
Chris?
What type of foundation are you doing? Poured concrete?
Poured concrete.
Thanks. No other questions.
Aaliyah?
I don't think I have any questions.
Anyone in the audience? Okay. I don't see any other questions. Would somebody like to make a motion on this?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we issue a negative determination with respect to this application.
I'll second that.
All in favor of a negative determination?
Aye.
Aye. You're all set.
Thank you.
Negative is good, means no more steps.
Great. Thank you.
Okay, we have another new public hearing.
Nope, you'll receive your application. I'll reach out to you via email about.
Notice is hereby given in accordance with the provisions of General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, in the Town of Shrewsbury Wetlands Bylaw and Regulation that 160 Holden Street LLC, care of GFI Partners LLC, 133 Pearl Street, Suite 300, Boston, Massachusetts, 02110, has filed a notice of intent for the installation of a sewer line and associated erosion sedimentation controls at 142 Clinton Street, 160 Holden Street, and in the Holden Street right-of-way.
Good evening.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman. Good evening. All set to
You
begin?
are ready.
Thank you. For the record, Doug Hartnett, Principal with High Point Engineering. Joining me this evening is Richard Kirby, our Environmental Resource Area Consultant, Wetland Consultant, here this evening under a Notice of Intent application to construct a sewer extension project associated with both the 142 Clinton Street project that the commission may be familiar with from a order of conditions that was issued by the commission in, might have been July of 2024. And at the time, I believe we had disclosed at the commission that there was discussions about the sewer extension eventually to be approved by the town as well as by DEP. So we are here this evening in response to the need for sewer for the project as in coordination with the town. Little housekeeping, you recall we filed an RDA back in the end of May of this year. We had received comments from DEP that had suggested to the commission basically a closer look at some of the environmental resource areas that were part of the project review. And we felt at the time that rather than go through the RDA process in trying to answer those questions, it made much more sense to withdraw that application and file the notice of intent. And within the notice of intent narratives and plan preparation, those comments were largely addressed that were raised in the RDA, and those responses to those comments were also included in the project narrative. To give some clarity to the project, where we are, I'm sure the commissioners may be familiar with the area. The project site itself that the commission's familiar with, 142 Clinton Street, is above the top of the screen, if you will. The sewer extension project includes providing service for 142 Clinton Street, which you may recall is 2 buildings with an estimated flow combined of about 7,500 gallons a day. In this image, you see a red line that extends from the 2 buildings that runs planned south through 142 Clinton Street and then 160 Holden Street. The 160 Holden Street site is the current Worcester Sand and Stone gravel processing operation. That red line extends essentially on the westerly lot line of 160 Holden Street within the area that's been previously reworked over the decades through that operation. That sewer line extends out to Holden Street at the corner of Parkhurst and Holden, and then runs essentially planned southeast within the Holden Street right-of-way and predominantly within the Holden Street traveled way, within the pavement of Holden Street, and extends down along the bend that you see within the roadway. It takes an S-turn, it comes around the S-turn, and then continues across a four-sided box culvert that connects Mud Pond with the other pond down below, and continues on to an existing sewer manhole that was installed as part of the high school sewer project when they built the high school back in 2000. The type of system is we refer to as a low-pressure sewer system, so the system is designed to allow for not just the connection of the project, but the larger sewer needs area that's been identified by the town in this area of Shrewsbury. The town has designated that as a sewer needs area because of the fact that those residences and businesses that fall within the Zone 2 wellhead protection areas identified by the town are earmarked for potential sewer connection to take those septic systems offline from typical Title V discharges in the ground, tie them to the sewer system, and eventually it really meets the interests of providing groundwater protection and water supply protection. As part of the work, GFI, the applicant, under this notice of intent, will be constructing the project, not just on behalf of its own needs for the sewer extension for 142 Clinton, but also provides the infrastructure in place within Holden Street for future connections for those residences. So this system has been designed to provide conveyance of sewage flows upwards of 60,000 gallons a day. And we foresee that as being a significant benefit, not just to the project, but the community at large. As it relates to the interests of the Wetlands Protection Act, the Wetlands Protection Bylaw, and so forth, there's a few areas of interest to the commission. One of them is bordering land subject to flooding. And I'm gonna ask, I don't know if we can zoom into that plan
Yeah.
a little bit, Alea. If we go, zoom in kind of to the bend area in the lower part, and if you could pan up a little bit.
Any more?
I know it's difficult. This sewer run is in excess of a half a mile to 3/4 of a mile, so doing our best to convey the scope of the work in a manner that's legible. The purple line you see is the limit of the 100-year floodplain. It's a Zone A mapped without elevation by FEMA and designated on the most recently published federal insurance rate maps. We had looked at that Zone A line with respect to the topography of the area that's been obtained by the applicant, and have found that that Zone A line does not follow topographic features in the least within the area of this, within this area. It crosses contour lines, it crosses roadways, it goes up and over mounds and so forth. So it really is not accurate, but for the purposes of this application, that Zone A is not materially impacted other than excavating, trenching, installing the sewer, backfilling to the original grades, and or paving to maintain the existing grades. So there's no impacts to compensatory flood storage or the need for compensatory flood storage as a result of the project. Yes, it does occur within the resource area, but the interests of maintaining the adequate flood storage that occurs there today theoretically are achieved. The second resource area of discussion is riverfront. There's Rich had delineated a mean annual high water line associated with a hydraulic connection between the two ponds. And so if you look at, you can see the flood zone line in purple, and it necks down to a culvert location. You can see it neck down into the roadway. Rich had delineated mean annual high water flags and bank within those areas to make the determination of the limits of the perennial stream. And with that, a 200-foot riverfront area, or riverfront zone established that you see in solid red that extends 200 feet from each side of that perennial stream delineation. We do note that in the Wetlands Protection Act, riverfront regulations do exempt activities associated with sewer maintenance and installations within the traveled ways of the public road network system. There are some activities within the riverfront area outside of the traveled ways that are associated with extending sewer stubs to the property lines for those residents on Holden Street that would be allowed to connect in the future when they decide or they elect to make that connection. Those riverfront areas outside the traveled way would be restored, loan and seed, and maintained essentially in their current condition, not further degraded. Those roadway shoulders are a bit rough, some of their, sparse vegetation and so forth. So we would not be, if anything, we'd be improving those areas through the stabilization of those zones. Additional resource area issues related to land underwater raised by DEP. They are of the opinion that work associated with obstructing the sewer via horizontal directional drilling methods underneath the four-sided box culvert constitutes an activity within land underwater and waterways. We contended otherwise in terms of our opinions and regarding the review of the act. However, in the DEP issuance of the number, the DEP file number today, requested that the applicant resubmit what the impact is to the land underwater. In their opinion, it still falls within that jurisdiction. And so we resubmitted that form this afternoon, as recently as about 5 o'clock, to the commission and to the DEP office. It's about 10 square feet. What we're doing is, if you're familiar with horizontal directional drilling, it's a trenchless technology that drills hydraulically through the soils. It pulls the pipe through it. The pipe is a continuous welded, basically it's a polyethylene pipe, and runs through the soils and then comes back out on the other side. So it avoids activities and impacts to the resource areas in this case. So we've addressed that in the documentation on the Form 3 and submitted that to the commission. Similarly, the DEP letter requested or made a recommendation that basically a response plan for any kind of frack out, if it may occur. What that means is when doing horizontal directional drilling, a slurry is pushed through basically the borehole in order to be able to create the hole, to be able to pull the pipe through. And oftentimes if you get seams within, say, bedrock or sandy lenses where the slurry can actually bleed through those areas, it may pop back out on the surface in some other area. It's a means of control of the slurry. You don't know till you start doing the work. So we're going to have our horizontal directional drilling contractor prepare a plan for the frack out management, if you will, to provide cleanup in the event that it's observed that that's needed. And that'll be submitted to the commission when that contractor is retained and on board and be provided. And we'd ask that a special condition be added to an order of conditions for this project to that fact and to our commitment to do that. Other resource areas and buffer zones bordering vegetated wetlands. There are no activities within BVW on this project. Again, in the Wetlands Protection Act, it provides exemptions to buffer zone work associated with sewer maintenance and utility maintenance within traveled ways, within public ways. But in addition, that we have the town's 15-foot no disturb and 30-foot no structure zones. But regardless, we provided the documentation for the impacts associated with those activities within buffer zone that are included within the notice of intent. So that really explains the 4 resource areas. And if I missed something, Rich, please let me know, as it relates to the activity. And it just in closing, this sewer project, to give you some sense on what that activity is, it's the installation of an 1.5 inches at the beginning of the line up by the project site, and basically telescopes larger up to a maximum of 4-inch diameter when you get down to the connection point. And the pipe gets larger as you introduce more and more flows as you go down the stream of the pipe to pick up those residential areas that eventually connect to it. So in the end, you'd have a 4-inch PVC pipe, 4 to 5 feet in the ground, with basically either a patched or a resurfaced roadway. Areas where we are adjacent to the culvert or just downstream of it, where we have multiple sewer extensions, if you will, for the stubs for the individual residences to the property line. We're doing a complete roadway resurfacing in those areas because the roadway gets chopped up a lot when you start putting in not just the main, but also the stubs. There's no stubs really once you get past Sewell Street and Holden Street going plan west and up into the project site. So that activity is limited to trenching and patching of the roadway. There will be some additional equipment that's installed in the roadway. We have a few we call clean-out manholes. They're like a typical sanitary sewer manhole down about 5 feet. It allows access to get to the force main if it needs to be jetted or cleaned or inspected. That's pretty typical for these types of installations. There's also an air release valve that will be installed within a segment of the sewer line, of the low-pressure sanitary sewer. And that's the work within the public way. As we said, this project involves 2 properties, 160 Holden Street, and if you could pan up, thank you, Alea. It includes 160 Holden Street as well as Holden Street itself. You can see the purple, call it the bulb, if you will. That's the limit of the flood zone, the graphical flood zone A within 160 Holden Street. The installation of the sewer force main falls within that area, but again, we're not doing any regrading along that road, the sewer segment. From a concurrent permitting perspective, this project has gone through review with the town. We are currently finalizing a review of what we refer to as a WM16 permit, which is a permit for approval for sewer extension through DEP. We've had our first review. We're wrapping up the comments on that to submit that for a final sign-off from DEP on that. That'll be completed in the next week or so. And so just so the board understand, there's a concurrent review that's going on with the town. And if the town is the applicant for the sewer permit, because it's an extension for the sewer treatment works over in Westboro. GFI is the applicant on this application because GFI will be performing the work for the sewer construction. And so therefore, that's why you have different applicants for the two DEP permits. I think that sums up the scope of the work. I'm happy to address any questions the commission may have.
I have a question regarding the directional drilling. Just looking at the way it's laid out here on the sheet, it's stopping just beyond the culvert. And you have like a 15-foot sewer manhole that you'll be tying into. I was just wondering why you wouldn't extend it underneath the culvert down to like where there's an air release manhole shown. It's gonna be very difficult for the contractor to pick up that drill where they're going to stop and set that 15-foot deep manhole underwater. You're right next to a resource area.
Yeah, the sewer manhole that you're referring to, I'm looking at the plan and profile on sheet PP3. Is that what you're referring to,
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman? Yes, you're correct. That's to be identified as basically a clean-out manhole that we can get in there, because that's the sag of the horizontal directional drilled pipeline. We would sweep the pipeline, if you will, the sewer line, as best as the horizontal directional driller can extend it between, beyond the culvert. It's really a means and methods item at that point for them to be able to do the install. We didn't expect to potentially fully be able to horizontal directionally drill it for 40 or 50 feet. We have to have the contractor tell us where the limitations are of the technology to be able to do that.
I'm just thinking that we should know what that's going to be, because for somebody to dig next to the culvert and dig down that deep below water level, there's gonna be a lot of impacts. Dewatering. I mean, I would think you would know, you would want to know that before we start this project, where that limit's going to be. That's just a thought.
Yep, understood. We can consult with, so the GFI has put this on the street for pricing, whether they have somebody identified yet to provide the guidance. Eventually, the horizontal directional drilling is a bit of a design-build exercise. These guys will come out to the site, they will look at it from a traffic control perspective and the operational perspectives of it, and then provide the guidance on how far that horizontal directional drilling limit can actually extend.
Yeah, because just means and methods, I mean, to dig down and you have to have a receiving pit or at that point, I mean, it's gonna be quite a project. It would be a lot easier to extend it and come up on the other side, another 150, 200 feet. Be a lot, probably more economical, and it would be a lot less disruptive to the area. I mean, you're right next to the brook. So I think that should be looked at.
Also, to that,
Emily, would you like to make a
yeah, I guess
comment?
I'll chime in now. Any impacts from a dewatering plan should be quantified as, even if they're temporary in nature. So I guess that's something we would want to see. And then it's within Zone A, so it doesn't have the base flood elevation. And you kind of went into it about not being able to determine the base flood elevation. I guess that may be fine. But you mentioned paving. Are you going to be paving any new areas or just areas that have already been paved?
We'd be paving areas that have already been paved and maintaining the elevations of the pavement. Essentially, it would trench it, put the sewer in, backfill it to basically a subgrade elevation, then pave it to match the adjacent pavement grades. We wouldn't be raising it.
Okay. I mean, that was my only comment, just the bordering land subject to flooding.
Diane?
So actually, I don't have any questions. I just want to make a comment. If you're doing this, then this will reduce the number of houses that have septic systems, and instead replace that with sewer system, which is better for the lake. So I'm really very pleased about that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bob?
So I have two questions. One, what are you doing to protect around the lake, like the edge of the lakefront, actually? What are you doing to protect that from not having problems with that? Are you any plans on doing any work on that, restoring, helping get better at the side of the lake, like the lakefront that goes by there?
So we were not doing any improvements on the lakefront. We were providing erosion controls, obviously, at the limits of the pavement to make sure that we don't have any releases of sedimentation. If in the event there's rainstorms, there is drainage out here in some instances, not all over the place. But I don't know if I'm answering your question correctly.
Yeah, well, my biggest question is my comment is that area you said doesn't flood out. You get a heavy rainfall right where Sewell Street and Colton Street come together, that whole yard flood with water. There is a large quantity of water that goes there. You have to have some control, because that water, you start digging, it's gonna end up running right straight into the lake right at that corner. So you might wanna take and address that somehow on what's gonna happen. That was number one. And secondly, are you putting are you putting laterals to every one of the houses along that way for future, or are you just putting stubs in the ground that they can go to? You actually put laterals to every property, or no?
Yes, laterals, but basically to the street line, to the edge of the right-of-way line.
Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect, thank you, that's all I had.
Oh, yeah, and Rich just reminded me, as part of the requirements for the exempted rules, you need to make sure that you're meeting an obligation to cover the trenches every single day within the street. You can't leave anything open over a 24-hour period. That's written in the Wetlands Protection Act.
Now, is that a flowable fill you put back in, or you just putting gravel back in there?
No, you'd be putting gravel back in. I don't think there's a need. The town is not, I mean, it's up to the DPW and engineering to require flowable fill. They've not indicated that is necessary. Usually we'll do flowable fill if we have multiple utility crossings where it's difficult to get compaction between them, and so they'll just put a lean concrete 1,500 PSI in those areas to sort of firms it up without having to try to get equipment in there and get inadequate compaction.
Do you show any clay dams around the sewer line as you progress? I mean, some projects show dams to prevent migration of water. I know you're gonna be in the water table a lot, but it prevents water from going elsewhere. I don't know if that's shown anywhere on your plans?
Yeah, the sewer depth is, except for where you pointed out, Mr. Chairman, on the, where we're crossing the culvert, all the sewers should be about 4 feet to 5 feet below grade. We don't anticipate a lot of groundwater being intercepted. I will look at that. We've done clay saddles before, but typically where the sewer is significantly steep is where you'll do it, because then you get the water riding in the trenches, and then it pulls the sediment with it, and you get settlement above and so forth. So, but we'll look at that and see if there's a recommendation on the saddles in TR 16, which is the guidance document for the design of these systems.
Okay. Chris?
No additional questions.
Alea?
I don't think I have any questions at this time.
Anybody in the audience have anything to add? Anybody in the board have any more questions for the gentleman tonight? Okay, so, we have a few concerns. What would you like to do?
Next hearing is
September
first,
16.
I'm sorry, Leah?
September 16.
Yeah, we'd like to get on that agenda and have these responses allow us to consult with the contractors on some of these questions.
Okay,
And if we need to submit revised plans, we'll do that prior to the hearing.
And could you give or prepare a copy of your dewatering plan as well, just for us to take a look at?
When, Alea, when do you need new information to be considered at the 9/16 hearing?
I typically like to receive new materials at least the Friday before the hearing, so that I have an opportunity so the commissioners have an opportunity to review.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if I could just restate the comments from the commission. Dewatering plan, a little more information on that and means and methods to do that. Evaluate the clay saddle requirements for the low-pressure sanitary sewer. Look at the water discharge in general at the corner of Sewell and the site, just to make sure if we're in construction that that'll be managed properly. Horizontal directional drilling limits, if it makes sense what we're showing on the plan for the sweep for that, and if that should be extended, and the location of the manholes that relates to groundwater management and so forth, right? And I think that's what I have, those 4 items.
I think that's correct.
Yep.
Yep, all right.
Thank you very much.
See you next month.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Another new hearing.
Yeah, I know.
Can we give these? I have some. I think everybody took them.
Okay, we have a new public hearing.
Notice is hereby given in accordance with provisions of general laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, in the Town of Shrewsbury Wetland Bylaws and Regulation, that Anthony Rich, on behalf of 223 Hartford Legacy LLC, P.O. Box 812359, Wellesley, Mass., has filed an abbreviated notice of resource area delineation for the delineation of bordering and isolated vegetated wetland at 223 Hartford Turnpike.
Is there
Oh.
anybody here? Is that,
We should have someone joining us on the line, virtually.
okay.
I think Scott Jordan will be joining us.
Yeah. Good evening, folks. Scott Jordan. I don't know if you can hear me.
Yes.
Yep.
Great.
Stop sharing. Now you can see
Thank-
him.
We can see you now, Scott. Go right ahead.
Okay, thank you. Aaliyah, were you going to share a plan, or should I, or?
Yes, I can. Let me just
Thank
pull
you.
that. Great.
So, this is an abbreviated notice of resource area delineation. No developments proposed here. Ecotech delineated BVW on this site in June. And we're just seeking review and confirmation of the delineated boundaries at the site. The site is, I believe it's approximately 16 or so acres. However, half or so of it is previously developed. This property is a commercial property located across Route 20 from the new Market Basket, the old Edgemere Drive-In Theater property across the street. And you can see the tree line there. About half of that site's already developed to the south. We just have basically one line of BVW there down the middle to be reviewed. And in the western portion of the site, you can barely make it out. There's a tiny isolated wetland. It actually is not 1,000 square feet and would not qualify as an isolated wetland under the bylaw as I read it. However, it may be considered a federal wetland. So we did delineate it. We just wanted to introduce the property. And I know it sounds like a large site. Again, it's mostly developed. I don't know if Elia would consider walking that with Kate or myself, probably take an hour or so to review that boundary, or if the commission wanted to send this out for peer review. I know, in the interest of time, by the time we solicit a peer reviewer and get them under contract and get their findings, it's probably going to be 3 months from now. So just thought I'd throw that out there. It's not hard to get around. It's just inside the wood line there, one straight shot really. So whatever the commission would prefer, and if you have any questions about the plan, I can answer them now.
A couple of things. Yeah, I think the commission probably would like a peer review on this, Scott, just,
Okay.
we've been doing that on a lot of ours, not going forward, so. And then there was a previous order on this property back in 2017. I don't know if you could look into that as well.
Sure.
Let me find the DEP file number for you.
And that is still open.
Yeah, so that would be 285-1773. And it
All
looked
right.
like it was for the expansion of the parking lot and associated stormwater infrastructure at that time.
Do we know if any of that worked?
It doesn't look like it was done. So, probably in the instance that order has expired, you may just ask the applicant to get that closed out and squared away for any future developments.
Sure. We will look into that.
Emily, do you have any questions?
I do not have any questions. I guess my only comment would be that a peer, I would like to see a peer review.
Okay, Diane?
When I was there with Leah last week, there were a lot of dead spotted lanternfly nymphs, and that was curious. I wondered, they were only in one area that we could find. I wondered if perhaps they had been sprayed when they were on a truck in the parking lot or something like that. If you know anything about that. At any rate, there shouldn't be any spotted lanternflies there. They would have been trucked in from someplace else with eggs on the trucks, maybe. And so what I want to raise is the question of perhaps the trucks being washed off to prevent an infestation there. Right? So that's the comment that I want to bring up.
Okay.
Can I ask whereabouts that was? Was it in the gravel
Uh,
parking area?
Yeah. Okay, so that was, Leah, let's see here.
I would
Is-
say it was in the wooded area. It wasn't in the parking area.
No.
They were only identified we walked along the edge of the wooded area for a pretty good distance to see how big of a spread there was. They seem to only be identified, oh gosh, sorry, I'm struggling to read the flag numbers in,
That's right.
in, probably,
Nice and so, Aaliyah.
Pretty much at the corner, where it says DH not found.
yes, yeah, that is probably where
Oh.
it's identified as DH not found or not.
That
FD.
peninsula there.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, that little peninsula of upland area. It was odd that they were all deceased. So they're
Yeah.
not spreading, but it was strange to find them there.
What we don't know is if there are some that did spread. And we do know that there are a lot of dead ones. But we don't know if there were ones that didn't die.
Yeah, we didn't identify any adults on any adjacent trees that were living or dead. So it was just an odd collection of
In
dead
fact,
late-stage nymphs.
I think that what we were discussing is that maybe we should have someone go in and find out.
Yeah, the state is doing tracking of them, so it
Yeah.
might just be something that is recorded with the state as part of whatever process
Right.
they have. And then if they're able to go in and treat those or do their thing.
Yeah, it would be pretty damaging to the wetlands if the trees in theirs had to come down. So, to get rid of an infestation like that.
And it might not be a consideration for the stage, it might be something for future development on the parcel to just consider. So it might be something that's passed to the applicant
Yeah.
as something for future
Right.
development, and just noted here.
Okay, is that it, Diane?
Yes, that is it.
Bob?
I have no questions.
Chris?
No questions.
Leah?
Yeah, I have no additional questions.
Anybody in the audience? All right, Scott, so there are no other questions from the audience, so Aaliyah will try to find somebody to do a peer review on this, and they'll be in contact, okay?
Okay, great.
And we'll just continue this to the next meeting.
Yeah,
Is
I'll
that
reach
right?
out to peer review tomorrow, so we should be hopefully well within the
Okay.
process by September.
You're good with continuing it?
Yeah, absolutely. What's that date, Aaliyah?
September 16.
All right. Talk to you soon. Thank you.
Thank you,
Have a
Scott.
great night.
Bye-bye.
Okay. We have a continued public hearing regarding the notice of intent filed by Juan Mendez on behalf of Alpha Capital Realty Trust, 23 Whitaker Lane, Princeton, Mass., for the construction of a roadway extension at 56 Oregon Ave.
Looks like one copy of that, so.
When did you get this today?
No, I did receive it previously. I just only got a single copy.
Okay. Good evening.
Good evening, Conservation Commission. If we could ask if it could be put on your screen. I do have a sheet here, but it might be easier to see for the members if it's up on the screen.
Yes, absolutely.
And you are?
Thank you. Glenn Kravosky from EBT Environmental Consultants, Inc. and
Ed Rodriguez, how you guys doing?
Okay.
when you're ready.
Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Go right ahead.
Thank you. So this project's been in front of you for a while. It was not constructed initially. It was a denial of an extension, and we refiled NOI. There was comments by DEP, which we addressed. There was comments by your peer reviewer, we walked and did address. The commission agent might chime in on the comments by the peer reviewer. We did have some questions about wildlife habitat evaluation, and we had shown that under the state reg, which would be part of your bylaw too, that a wildlife habitat evaluation is not required if you're adjacent to an isolated vegetated wetland. That was confirmed by Mr. Allen, your peer reviewer, that it is isolated, and we're not within the 10-year floodplain. Those are the two criteria. bank also, within 100 feet of bank, which we're not. This is the channelized brook, West Brook, at the Graylock, if I recall. Parkland is where it's channelized from, Mill Pond up above down to the old Bucca de Pepo. Well, it's channelized for part of that in an incised channel with armored slope, and then it eventually goes for 3,000 feet underground to Bucca de Pepo or Lake Quinsigan, then it discharges. So that's the brook we're dealing with. The wetland, as Art Allen and I had looked at it, and did confirm that it has been altered by the channelization that occurred in the mid to late 60s, under a program called Stream Improvement, which we did get those plans from Shrewsbury a few years ago with Benacasa project upstream. So the engineer did calculate the volume of fill to be placed within the 100-year floodplain for the extension of Oregon Ave. The compensatory flood storage is shown on the plan, sheet 4 of 6. Does go into calculations on compensatory storage foot per foot under 1057, and shows at each elevation we've overcompensated slightly on each volume to compensate for, again, that foot per foot compensation. There were some questions by Mr. Allen on planting the compensatory flood storage. The same sheet I just mentioned does show planting species, plant species 18 witch hazel, 18 American hazelnut, 18 red maple with a New England Conservation Wildlife seed mix. Well, that'll be overseeing the planting, both the lower tier of the compensatory flood storage area and the slope rising out of it. We plan on that. You do see the erosion control barriers that we have directly along the riverfront area, so we're not, as far as the erosion control barrier is not within the riverfront area. We keep our work upgrading of the 200-foot riverfront area. We have notified the abutters, which is the house directly west of us, with no trespass signs to stop dumping there. That became a question the last time I believe I was in front of the commission. It was loam material, gravel material, millings material. There was some question about the millings. We did explain the ABC regulation that originally DEQE came up with, which is still used, asphalt, brick, and concrete, that cured millings is suitable fill. Anything 6 inches in diameter or greater, concrete, brick, or asphalt is, in asphalt that's uncured, is not suitable fill. But anything smaller than that is called stable fill. So there are some millings on the property. We, again, plan on originally putting in the erosion control barrier, as you might expect, and that'll be done by S&M Farms, which is one of the premier erosion control specialists, to ensure they're put in correctly. They will be staked out by the surveyor up front, so they're exactly where they're shown on the plan. We do plan on, and we always do, follow the plan exactly as drawn. Any deviations from the plan, as you're aware, would have to be put in writing to the commission, not just verbal. We just went to court on that matter against somebody else. And we follow, I hate to say, we plan on following the plan precisely. I might ask, through the chairman, if Aaliyah could just possibly state with Mr. Allen whether he was totally okay with this last rendition of the plan. And I believe
Yes, let me
we
pull
had
up.
2 renditions under him.
Sorry, let me just make sure this is the old one. and this
If I say one more thing while she's looking, there was an enforcement order on the project, and we feel, and we did ask at the last meeting, and I believe it's in writing, that we asked for the lifting of the enforcement order. If the commission felt it appropriate, not that we need it lifted up front, we could lift it at the end of the whole project when everything's stable again. But there is an enforcement order on the project from the Daniel Berthium time period, quite a few years ago.
I think a lot of the enforcement was related to the dumping that's been going on the site.
2018?
Yeah, so it would be partly remedied during the course of construction for this project, and then also, it sounds like deterrents have been installed to prevent future dumping in this area. So I would be comfortable advising that the enforcement be lifted, but
Thank you for that.
why am I unable to find his letter from today?
Was it in the folder?
I just got it. Okay, let me just share this instead. Okay, here it is. So yes, Mr. Allen had agreed that under the scope of the project, a wildlife habitat evaluation would not be triggered. He also agreed that the IVW was correctly labeled, and has been flagged appropriately. And that now the compensatory storage area has been one of the original comments of Mr. Allen was that the compensatory storage area was being labeled as a compensatory replication area, which is just incorrect terminology. So now it's been labeled appropriately to a compensatory storage area and is all set. And then now native species have been included in what will be installed in the compensatory storage area. So the applicant has been able to address all of Mr. Allen's comments.
Okay. Sure.
And DEP's comments on stormwater have been addressed also. We both, TSS and removal volume, 1 inch, 24, separation from groundwater table. And all. Thank you.
You all set?
Yes, sir.
Emily, do you have any questions?
I guess my only question, is there any work that directly impacts the isolated wetland, or no?
No, ma'am.
Okay, that was it. I guess just to clarify that the IBW was not fully delineated or calculated, so there's no way to definitively know if it meets either the 1,000 square foot area threshold for regulation under the local bylaw or the 1/4 acre foot criteria for ILSF. So that, I was just curious, but that, I have no further comments.
Because of this coarse gravel, this is a glacial outwash area. It's mostly Hinckley soil, well drained. There's actually it is over 1,000 square feet. We walked all the way around, all the way down Oregon over to the Greylock Park, bearing then west, and coming around. There's a footpath around it, so it's well over the 1,000. It is regulated under the bylaw, but there's no staining within any of it because of the draining that occurred with this thing called stream improvement back in the 60s. Now the channel is incised down, and then there's an armored slope. So it drained this wetland, and now there's in most edges of it, it's predominated by upland plants, even though it's got hydric soil. So it's a relic hydric soil, and that draining has helped it. There is no discharge over to the BVW through this bowl, but no staining at all at the surface within the whole thing. We walked it all, up multi-floor rows, other exotic invasives, which we did list at the last meeting. And anything that we come across, Monroe's honeysuckle, Japanese bamboo, Norway maple, there's some locusts, but they're soil conditioners, euonymus. We will be removing anything that's within our reach as far as adjacent, but it is humans have been around a long time, so it's exotic invasive, at least in these areas, so the exotics have come into the area. There is one last thing. There was one large oak. I had a 28-inch diameter northern red oak, and as far as the compensatory flood storage, it's the only large tree in that area, and we are missing it. We're going to make sure to preserve the tree roots adjacent to our compensatory storage and ensure that oak stays intact.
All right,
You all set?
I'm all set.
Diane?
No questions.
Bob?
No questions.
Chris?
Are you bringing in any fill?
No, this is a removal. You can see the cutback.
Yeah, I just couldn't tell for certain.
No fill coming in.
Okay.
Thank you, sir. Net balance.
So I just have a question. So you have the existing foundation on one, am I missing a?
That's 22, Marietta.
All right, where's the house gonna go? Is it shown?
It's.
Can I say, this was just for the roadway.
Okay.
And the compensatory storage. That's to extend the road so that's a legal frontage on this. He will be coming back in front of you with it, unfortunately, this is the way I inherited
Okay.
this. This was done before.
Okay.
So there will be a house in the future coming forward with stormwater. I was just asked originally just to re-up on the original NOI, and then it was denied. So we'll be here with the house, with stormwater, most likely with the same engineer, but we have to get the road in front of us in order to have frontage.
And this will be 1317 Avon? That'll be the address?
Is that
of the-
correct?
I'm not sure what the city's gonna
Okay.
place for it, but
Well, this
it's
is
gonna
what we
be
have.
facing Oregon.
We'll make sure, we don't have that answer
Okay.
precisely. Thank you.
Aaliyah?
I may recommend a special condition that the oak tree that is being preserved be,
Wrapped?
wrapped or protected in some way, just,
100%.
fenced or something, just so that
Thank
it-
you.
its roots are well protected as well during construction.
Yes, ma'am.
And then my other question was related to the stormwater infrastructure that's proposed. That looks like it does cut into your future house lot, just kind of is that being constructed with the intention of future development being connected to it, or is it, it's just like, it's,
No,
I guess the consideration is, in the hopes that it's not going to be in a way in the future. When you go to put a foundation in for a home, it's not gonna be a problem again.
no. That was taken into consideration. That stormwater structure is just for that extension of the roadway with that impervious. Even though there's a sidewalk there that's asphalt now, it will be a roadway, so that covers the stormwater for the roadway. As we can see, the construction corridor around the house, or should I say the setbacks, there's still plenty of room to work within the setbacks that are shown on that dash line going around. And most likely, we do have zone resident B2 in what sidelines are. That's what we're showing here, sideline 10s, 30s, front yard. There's plenty of room with this core soil to build a house and put its own stormwater infiltrate, most likely Caltech unit again, just for a single-family house. With your bylaw, because it's only a single-family, it wouldn't be state law under this one, but your bylaw, I think, would trigger us.
Yeah, if it's a
Or
disturbance
stormwater.
of 5,000 square feet or more, it would be,
We'll be doing the calculation for that.
yeah, absolutely.
Could you point out the tree that we were talking about, the oak tree?
I can say where it is. It's directly excuse me for the arm, I hate that. It's an area of 394, 392 on the northern side of the shaded compensatory flood storage.
One to a slightly-
It's in that undisturbed area, no post grading, directly west of the word setback. Right at that, it's not on the plan, and I did
Okay.
think that earlier, that it would have been so much better if we actually shown it. But this came up while I was walking it with Art Allen. He didn't bring it up, but we had the limits of the compensatory flood storage that's staked in the field. So we knew exactly where that was, and I didn't mention much to Art, but I did note that the commission is keen
Leaves on trees.
at some earlier meeting about preserving trees, and I did note to myself that it's outside the compensatory storage and not in a graded area, down closer to that silt fence area, silt fence hay bale. So it'll be wrapped, normally we're gonna keep anywhere from 8 to 10 feet around that for the root system. And the root system on the southern side would be the only one that we're close to. There will be an as-built immediately when we finish this. This will all be staked out. The surveyor will be involved with it to ensure that we get the compensatory storage exactly, so we're not back there again redigging. But I will say that, period.
Okay. Is there anybody in the audience have any questions with this? Everybody on the commission all set?
Yes, sir.
Okay, then I guess we can close this hearing.
We appreciate your time. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you.
So we'll put some conditions on related
Yes,
to the tree and whatnot and some other things, and we'll go with that, okay?
All right, have a good day. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, we have a continued public hearing regarding the abbreviated notice area of delineation filed by Sarah Foley, 236 Cross Street, Lowell, Mass. For the delineation bordering vegetated wetlands and intermittent stream at 39 and 65 Gold Street.
Diane, do you have this plan set already, or?
Sorry?
Do you have this plan set already, or do you need it?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
I think I do.
Hello, everybody. Doug Dillon from Carter Consulting, representing, as you said, Sarah Foley for 39 and 65 Gold Street. First opened this in June, I believe, and since then, we've undergone a peer review, walked the property, and amended a few flags just quickly. Those are between A113 and 20, kind of towards the southeast of the barn here. It was like a kind of ephemeral-ish, like wet meadow kind of thing that just popped up from the time that the delineation was performed and review, and so we added that in recognition of the wetland vegetation present, as well as we added there's like a little 10-inch like old ductile iron pipe, it's got to be 80, 90 years old, spanning sort of one wetland to the other end, and we added that to the plan, and added a flag at the mouth of that. So those are all reflected on the new plans, and I'd be happy to answer any questions regarding the delineation. There is a potential vernal pool not on this property, a budding property, which is actually owned by the town of Shrewsbury. We recognize that on the plans as a currently existing potential vernal pool. We received some DEP comments questioning if the IVW would potentially be connected to the main line. After review with the peer reviewer, determined that is not the case. And we have that mapped out and labeled appropriately as a locally jurisdictional IVW. And I believe the square footage for that sits somewhere at about, I think it's like 1,200 square feet, last I looked.
Okay. Emily, do you have any questions?
I do not have any questions.
Diane?
No, I do not have any questions.
Bob?
No questions.
Chris?
Either, nope.
Alea?
No questions, but a couple of comments related to the issuance of any ORAD. Just noting that the pipe is in existence might be worth it. And then also noting that any future work might want to include the certification of the vernal pool.
Yeah.
I'm sure the town of Shrewsbury would be happy to have someone out there delineating that and submitting that information to the proper authorities.
Just as a question, so it's August, how soon could that certification happen?
As it would be tied to probably any future development on the property.
Yeah.
It might be wrapped into a future, it would probably be included as a condition for any future order of conditions associated with actual development, because this is just the delineation. They're not proposing anything. So they would, unless they are planning on keeping the project very small in the future, they will have to be back with us to kind of figure out what their limits are for work within the buffer areas. At that point in time, we'd probably issue an order of conditions with an associated condition specifying that, hey, we'd like this vernal pool to be certified.
We have wildlife biologists on staff, and that's absolutely a conversation we'd be more than happy to have, obviously with you guys being, the property owner of the actual vernal pool. But yeah, for sure.
Yeah, we typically will see, we've done it with a couple of our larger projects before as well, especially when there might be more regular work being done on site as part of any future development. So there might be environmental staff on site to make sure the development is not impacting any wetlands. In the course of that, they might be able to certify the vernal pool, or it might just be an extra that we incorporate. At this point in time, we would just kind of note it, hey, there was a potential vernal pool denoted as part of this filing. So it's just kind of in the record. I think that was it for me.
All right. Okay, well then, I guess, any questions from the audience? No, there aren't any more questions from the board, we'll close this.
All right, thank you guys for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, on to new and old business. Discuss and sign orders, conditions. And RDAs.
I have one determination of applicability for 18 Crimson Drive.
Somebody like to make a motion? Well, we already did that.
We voted.
Motion.
They voted negative, okay?
And then one order of conditions for, I had a continuance for 142 Clinton, 223 Hartford Turnpike, and 32 Ridgeland Road. So I have an order of conditions for 56 Oregon Avenue.
We have some conditions
We have that.
we didn't talk about. I
Sure do.
suppose. Also 223 Hartford Turnpike. Oh, I take that back, sorry.
3965
gold.
gold. So I will include, and there's, so I have a signature sheet for an ORAD for that.
Okay. So,
Let me see what I
Oregon.
have.
So we had, a couple of things, was the special condition around the oak tree. It's still totally unclear how we're gonna make a condition on a tree that we don't have a record of where it is exactly on the map, but.
The commission may request a revised plan set submitted with the tree included. I can
We
contact
we
the-
can make it a condition that we receive a revised plan set with the tree mapped out. Any other conditions that we talked about?
Was that?
Yeah.
I would recommend a special condition relating to the kind of the treatment of those invasive species or eliminating them as they come to them.
Or like a monitoring plan, or is it just inevitable that it will?
Be back.
Yes.
I feel like it's a little bit of both because it's adjacent to their property is a public, either not a public way, a private way, or, publicly owned property, because obviously there's Greylock Park right there. So they might be able to fight it to the edge, and then
So,
we might not be able to fight it to their edge.
All right.
so how would you condition that? A special condition that they submit details of their invasive species plan? Or that they
had
remove any invasive?
Yeah, I think they had just mentioned removing any invasive species. I'm not sure that it would entail, a removal plan that would rival something that we've conditioned before, where it would be actual like pesticide,
Right.
herbicide.
Right.
Get in there. It might just be they whack as they come to it.
So I
Dig it
guess
and treat it.
the tree is
Yes,
the
the
condition.
tree is the big
Well, just
condition.
like,
Okay.
receive a revised plan with the tree.
So,
Should we condition it with this couple of, like, number of days? 10 days, 30 days?
Well, so the order of conditions has to be issued within 21 days, so typically we like to, I like to see the revised plans come in before the issuance of the
So
order.
Let's say 10 days then.
So, yeah, within 10 days would be fine.
So, Mr.
And then
Chairman-
actually wrapping that tree, I apologize.
we have go ahead.
So, Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we issue a order of conditions, approval with order of conditions that we have a special condition that the oak tree be marked out on a map that we receive in 10 days from tomorrow, and that they treat any invasive species with the removal of the invasive species that they encounter up to the area of work,
And that's-
location of work,
And this is at 56 Oregon.
at 56 Oregon Avenue.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right.
And then we have the ORAD, let me see, let me get. So the only conditions we discussed on the ORAD at 39 and 65 Gold Street was the, maybe noting the certification of a vernal pool,
Correct?
Yeah,
And-
denoting the presence of a potential vernal pool.
and maybe noting the presence of a 10-inch ductile pipe, 10-inch steel ductile pipe at flag A11A.
Correct. That's,
So, Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we issue an order of resource area delineation at 3965 Gold Street, with the certification of a vernal pool and the existence of a 10-inch steel ductile pipe at flag A11A.
is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right. Moving on to discuss and sign certificates of compliance.
Five, two, zero. Let me see what I have.
So 285, the first certificate of compliance I have for you tonight is 285-0182, 6 Candlewood Way. This proposal was part of a larger subdivision development of the entirety of Candlewood Way, as well as, I believe, another street in the 90s. I think it has already received a certificate of compliance. There's like a couple of partials floating around in its folder, and then a total, and then, but the applicant was unable to locate a registered copy within their file, so while I think a complete certificate has been issued previously, they would like a reissuance just so they can get it registered recorded with the Registry of Deeds, so they're square for any future proposals. So I would recommend that one be issued. 285-1235 for 32 Clue Street. This was for the proposal to install a septic system. The septic system was not installed, so they submitted an invalid certificate of compliance request to close out this order altogether. I am forgetting Greenwood Avenue, and I will try to figure that out while I pull up 8 Parmenter Hill. 8 Parmenter Hill was a more recent development. It's part of the Parmenter Hill development. They have completed the house and submitted an as-built plan related to the construction of the property. So they're all set. And then let me figure out where 5 Greenwood Avenue is and jog my memory.
So, let's see, it was, it's not in the folder.
Oh, boy. A lot of times
Greenwood.
folks will give me hard copy RC requests for
You
certificate
had
of
32
compliance.
clues, is what you had in the folder.
Oh, good. Let me see what I have for the actual project.
Usually has the folder.
1721.
That's fine.
1721. Let's see what people sent me in my. Okay. This was for the construction of a single-family home for 5 Greenwood Avenue. How many certificates of compliance?
Took
do I
only
need to do?
2.
This one is for 8 Parmenter Hill, and then this one is for 5 Greenwood Ave. I think I would recommend all of them be issued this evening.
We have
5 Greenwood Ave is hoping to,
We have 3, we have 3.
We have 3?
too many. I should have 4 in total.
Oh, okay, then we need one more then, yes.
Okay, there you go. Cool. Yeah, it was for the construction of the single-family home. The home is getting completed. They did submit as-built, and they're hoping to install a fence soon, so they need to submit an additional application related to that. Okay.
And
For those.
then we're on to updates.
Yes. The first update is related to the water chestnut pole. The Lake Quinsigamond Watershed Association, as well as the Lake Quinsigamond Commission and the City of Worcester, every year kind of pull themselves all together and put on a couple of water chestnut poles. The last one was conducted in July. They'll typically do one in June and one in July to get the growth of water chestnut and invasive aquatic species earlier in the year before it fruits. I attended the July one, and had a great time mucking around in the pond. It is always, it's kind of good to just, to share knowledge of this invasive species and that it is, there are movements to remove it. And then if you guys are interested in attending next year, I will post about them a little earlier, before they happen maybe, to tell you about them so that you may attend. Typically, the city of Worcester puts it together, and Katie Liming of the Worcester Lakes and Ponds program does a phenomenal job securing kayaks and disposal methodology and gloves and bags and laundry baskets to do the whole thing.
No, it's been a great effort with Lake Quinsigamond Commission, the Watershed Association, City of Worcester, and it's been an ongoing effort for many years. Not just pulling the water chestnuts, which is a great. It's going grows so fast, and it's something that needs to be controlled. But everybody's trying to do their part and to make Lake Quinsigamond a better place. So every little bit helps.
Yes.
Our next update is related to 97 and 99 and 101, 97 299 and 101 North Quinsigamond Avenue. 101 previously was permitted for the construction of retaining walls on the property, as we have previously discussed. During the construction of the retaining walls over the weekend, a sewer lateral was identified. The sewer lateral connected to 9799 North Quinsigamond, so that's how all the properties came together. Unfortunately, 97 to 99's sewer lateral crosses the property line onto 101 North Quinsigamond, making it more complicated. So I would recommend an emergency certificate be signed for the emergency construction of moving that sewer lateral, and then additional permitting stuff can go under to kind of put it all back together again, to fix any retaining walls that need to be reoriented for the reorientation of the sewer lateral, and then any related work for all of that jazz.
Does anybody have any comments
Yes,
regarding this?
we have the homeowners from both properties present.
Yeah, so,
Can you come up?
Please come up.
Just tell us your name.
Yes. My name is Vishal Nath. I'm from 101 North Quinsigamond. So as I mentioned, while making, the wall is being made and had been dug up about 6 to 7 feet so that those stones can be put and all the things which was said in the plan. While doing that, we saw an outlet giving sewer out of that, water coming out first. We did not know what it was. It was assumed by everybody that it is coming from 101 because some water line perimeter drain might be draining it out. Upon further investigation, like we dug it back, we saw it was curving back to 99 Quinsigamond. So, and eventually it found out that the basement bathroom flushed out everything into that pipe, as well as some, I think, washing machines and stuff. So we had to obviously take care of it because it was just flowing out on the backyard.
Yeah.
So eventually, I said it has to be stopped because it will be inhabitable for the tenants. I think they have tenants residing there where feces are coming out. So I said that okay, for temporarily let's fix it, and eventually it needs to be moved. For that matter, it was in a very convoluted way. It came out over the down with a post on it. The pipe on the post goes down and connects to, and we don't know where that was eventually going anyways, this original pipe. But now it is being temporarily connected to some sewer line out on the property itself. So this has halted the whole process of our construction because obviously we cannot do, I have pictures, I can show you those. How will, now with the wall being back, well, construction stopped, and now there's a fear of rain coming in, and everybody is on us to fix it by end of the tomorrow, because tomorrow rain is coming, by now till tomorrow afternoon, get everything stabilized. It is just impossible. It's just, what do I do? Well, the cranes and everything has been moved out of the property because of the work that just has been stopped. So that is the situation.
So I believe the commission will give you the order to do what you need to do to get this, keep this moving. But you haven't done any work in here for quite a while. I mean, it's been going on 2 years. So
Over the period of time, it has been for building permits, there was plans and everything, so it has started. So now we have found another thing, it will be delayed again.
Well, we're gonna, I believe the board will issue this tonight, and then you'll be able to do what you need to do in a timely manner.
So
correct?
since, and one more additional thing, there are two permits. One is the south wall, the common wall, and the lake wall. Can we still work on the lake wall while it is, because it is two different permits? So that we can, and water has receded about 2 feet, so we can still, at least, it won't be a waste. There are two different building permits.
I mean, I think.
What
an
do you mean,
open
there's two different
permit-
building permits?
One building
Oh, I
permit is
see.
for the common wall, which for collapse. One is the lake wall. So,
So it's from the building department?
yes,
Building is, no, that's not up to us, that's up to the building department. We can give, you have an order of conditions to do your work from
Right.
us, and this is an emergency order to fix the sewer. Is that
Yeah,
correct?
so the emergency order would also be issued to 97 to 99, so that would be issued to Anne, because it's her sewer lateral thingy, and she'll be working to get it back onto her property, so it's, you know, a little tidier situation in the future to contend with. I think at this point in time, the town has requested additional permits. There will be a sewer permit for 97, 99 that needs to be issued. They're trying to fast track that, but they do need plans showing where the line is proposed. Those, I think, Mr. Sadowski has kind of been working with both property owners to figure out where the line currently is, where the line is proposed to be, and will be creating those plans. He should have them done by Friday. They'll be reviewed by Miss Ann's representation over the weekend, and then work should begin sometime next week with a sewer permit in hand on 97 to 99. Once the sewer is out of the way, and once there's not a pipe that is where the retaining wall should be, I think work can begin for 101 North Quinsigamond. I think the pending issue related to the retaining wall now is that it's just a large amount of dirt that's kind of open because the retaining wall has been removed. If everything had gone correctly, it would be retained by now. There would be a retaining wall there. Unfortunately, that is not the case. So I think the larger thing that has come up has been, making sure that dirt is stabilized. I don't think anything would prevent that would be part of a part of the order of conditions that has already been issued for that work, just to make sure it's stable. Obviously, this is an unusual trench because it's not, a trench is typically equally trenchy on both sides. This is kind of a one-sided trench.
So I started up today. Two of the Anne complained to somebody in state about the trench word, and they came and assisted. So Mr. Dan, and the two Mr. Dans, who came and said, no, it is not a trench. The sewer pipe can be moved temporarily from where it is to temporarily itself before everything happens next week. It can be removed, cut from wherever the original source is, and taken over the fence temporarily.
Okay.
And it can be done as well.
Okay.
That was told in the meeting today when they came on site. So
Okay.
that,
Do you know if they'll be able to provide, so the town had reached out to the state, not Anne.
no, he said that the call came from Anne. So
I don't know,
that's what they said to me. That's my mistake.
we spoke to Anne, and she had not reached out to the state. We had reached out yesterday morning when we encountered the trench that is not a trench. So I'm sorry, the state conveyed to you incorrect information, but that was, it was the town that reached out to the state about the trench, just because it is a pretty steep decline. very quickly, and there is the possibility of that dirt falling pretty quickly. So yeah, failure, if it is not a trench, it might be treated differently, but the possibility of failure of that pile of dirt is
And
possible.
what he suggested was those big blocks, if they move closer to that wall, that would be as an embankment, it will help
Okay,
sustain. So that's one thing which is advised. That
Okay.
it is about 6 feet by 2 feet blocks. So they said just if you move it closer to the wall, that cutoff, that will be sufficient to, it will be safer.
Perfect,
If at
okay.
all something like that happens.
Okay.
So if something that we can see if it can be done, because some other cranes are going away, let's see if I can do it before that. But they have been cordoned, like you suggested, with blocks, so that there's no water there.
Perfect.
There will be a stilt fence as well, so that the dirt gets stopped. On the perimeter, 3-4 feet away from that, as you suggested, I showed it in the morning.
awesome.
Those will be done tomorrow morning, first thing, before anything else happens. But if we can arrange the moving of the blocks, that will be sufficient to have enough support to the wall. And the movement of the temporary, like, I know it won't be a fix, but the sewer line moving on the other side, so it is all clean, so we can have some area to work. You can see how it is. I mean, it is, she has pictures, I mean, you can look at it. But that's what my request is, like, to have that.
Yeah, if the state was okay with that being the
that's
stabilization
what they
technique,
said.
that should be
Yeah,
fine, to kind of,
Temporarily.
to stabilize the area.
And as you said, I know it's expedited, but a lot of money is burning right now.
Yeah, yeah. You probably could move to the lower retaining wall. I think the concern would just be, yeah, making sure that this area is stabilized
Oh, yeah.
first, so that moving any vehicles down there
So
does
Wayville
not
goes there and
regulate
stays
that.
there because there's no material coming down, because we are material already there. All we need to do is and start working on those, removing them, because the one thing is the inspection of the foundation, because that
Okay.
was one of the things which I think you had mentioned. So to that, just remove the blocks. Engineer will come and take a look, take a pictures, if they're convinced that the foundation is great, we assemble it back with all the backfill grades and
The filter fabric should be installed as well, okay.
Yeah, geomats.
Yeah,
So
perfect.
those will be done, and it won't take more than 2 days to put it out and put it back in, but I need your permission that I can work.
If
I mean,
you have-
whoever, I didn't know, that's why I came.
You have you have an order of conditions from us,
Yeah.
so yes, you can do our work as long as you have your other permits from the building
Who should I
inspector or whatever that is.
speak
I don't know about that.
I can work on that, right? I have a permit for the.
Yeah, so you have the permit for the waterside wall, and I think,
No, when they
the
talk
last
about
I had
one of the
spoken to
walls.
Alex, it was low enough that it did not require a building permit, the waterside wall did at least. So that wall could be worked upon. I would just recommend, kind of following up on my email that I sent on Friday, remove the silt fence that's in the water down there.
Oh, done.
is-
All done.
Yeah, okay, perfect.
All done.
I didn't get any further than this part when I was last on
Oh,
site.
see that?
So-
Yeah, that's the condition right
All
now.
right.
So I haven't been able to get back down to the water's edge. But yeah, as long as that silt fence is removed.
Yeah, and that's why I want crane there, so that you wanted a big block to be there,
Yes,
so that crane can do that. So if I can do that, I will be very happy that I can at least finish some accomplishment of this, like you said, for 2 years. This is my backyard.
It's
for
a mess.
2 Yeah,
Yes, no.
I have 2 kids.
Whatever
I
you
cannot
can
use
do to facilitate getting this done as
I
fast
appreciate,
as
sir.
possible, I would say yes.
I
Any
appreciate it.
questions from Emily or Diane or Bob? Chris?
No questions.
No questions.
I just wanted, the only other question I have is I want you to confirm that you're going to fix that spot between your wall and Ann's wall. Make that tight so there's no water go behind her wall anymore. That's what you're gonna work on fixing, correct now?
Say it again.
If you have a big gap between your wall and the next door neighbor's wall
Yeah.
at the water, you're
Yeah.
gonna fix that.
Oh, this,
Out of that right now, you're gonna fix it. It's gonna be solid, so water doesn't go behind her wall anymore. You're gonna fix that, right?
but there's a condition that Anne said that it should not touch her wall. That there should be nothing should touch her wall. So there will always be some kind of a gravel or something between that. So I cannot tie it in. I mean, that's one thing, one of our conditions.
Okay. We're in agreement.
So it will be some space, because I can't butt it against. It's just leave it and then fill it with something.
Chris?
No additional questions.
Ann, do you have anything to add?
I would like to approach the commission, if you don't mind, please.
Yes.
Thank you. I'm Ann Zedek-Sumner. I own 97-99 North Quinsigamon Ave, and thank you for your attention. Thank you, Aaliyah, for your summary. Regarding the sewer, am doing everything I can to expedite that, moving it off Mr. Nath's property, because I understand the problem that occurred unbeknownst to us. Andy Bondor from Water and Sewer is coming out tomorrow, and we are very hopeful that he will give a second emergency okay with your approval, that we disconnect from the current outlet that's on 101, and as a temporary fix, kind of make the same kind of piping up to 97, so that it will be totally off that property. We are hopeful that we'll get that order tomorrow, or the agreement in writing tomorrow, with your approval, and then we will hopefully get that done, I'm hoping Thursday or Friday. So we are moving that forward and, putting a temporary correction in advance of the proper permitting process, which we will then follow.
Okay.
If there are any questions on that, I'd be happy to answer them, and then I do have a second thing.
Go right ahead.
The second thing is regarding, thank you for bringing up the issue of the waterfront wall, and the sooner that gets done for the lake, that better that is. But regarding the gap, we call it the gap, and it needs to be constructed as the plans have, the order of conditions has stated, as a retaining wall, because it is retaining as much as the large blocks are. And so I have not yet seen an engineered plan for that. I did stipulate that there had to be nothing that is attaching, like cement or something like that, that is attaching to my wall, out of concern that it would, if that failed, it would also pull his longer standing, pretty effective wall down. So,
I remember the conversation we had, and you need to come up next to it, not physically attached to it, but you need to butt up flush to it.
You can have an isolation membrane between the
Just-
two or something?
However, and the engineer understands this. We had this discussion with him during the time we issued the order. So you need to butt up against it, don't attach anything to it, but come flush against her wall. You may have to do some type of stonework, you may have to do something else just to make that.
So the stone which you see right now,
Mm-hmm.
it was like, what we decided that this is big, heavy, good stone.
Mm-hmm.
If we just place it next to her wall without attaching it, it would be sufficiently strong enough to be, you can.
As long as the engineer who was there watching that agrees with that, and and you're happy with it, that should be done.
I'm happy with whatever is designed, as long as it meets those conditions, and it's a retaining wall.
Yep.
That it is not just a block of anything put in, because every retaining wall, even these gigantic ones, need to be properly set back in the property so it doesn't collapse. I'm not an engineer, far from it, but I know that if you put a rock somewhere and you have enough pressure behind it, at some point it's going to fail.
Yeah, so I think at this point, that is the next plan of action, is kind of taking it back down to its roots, figuring out, having the engineer come on site, making sure that it is nice and level, as it sounds like over the course of the last couple of reconstructions, it's kind of scooched its way
If it has.
at an angle towards the lake, but just making sure that it gets nice back and leveled, so that those walls, that this retaining wall is actually doing
That it's,
its job this time.
yes, and that it's constructed, whether it's geomat or whatever it is, that it's got to be backfilled. It can't just be placing a.
Yes,
Correct.
absolutely, yeah.
Unless the engineer says that's fine. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
That was
and
my
that-
only comment about the proposal of just putting some rock.
And that's what we're all on the same page, correct?
Yes.
When I said we just block that, I meant backfill everything.
Yep,
the way it's-
okay.
Is your contractor Taj familiar with this sort of construction process?
He did
Okay,
that already. He did it for commercial also, so he's very familiar.
okay,
And so is David, we met.
yes, okay, perfect.
Both will be working together.
And so that when that engineering plan gets in pictorial form, that we also have a chance just to quickly review that, just to make sure that's okay.
You want another plan?
So I think the last plan that was submitted that was approved under the order of conditions was one that was constructed by, or one that was submitted by Graves Engineering. It sounds like the plan has changed a little since, Mr. Sadowski, and I'm forgetting his associated engineer's name.
Jack Bailey.
Yes, Jack. It sounds like the plan has changed now that Jack is in charge, so you might,
So I'll review the plan with Graves is required.
Yes.
And that was an agreeable plan. I'm assuming that he ensured that, I've looked into it, ensured that.
Can you come up to this microphone, because we can't hear you on the
Sorry.
podcast?
Oh.
Yeah, there's the podium.
yeah,
and
that you
there's
can,
the other
yeah,
one.
you guys can stand, so,
Thank
yeah, there's
you.
like 15 mics over there, so.
What I meant was, like, I will look into the Graves plan, Graves Engineering's, if they had that already stipulated and it was agreed upon and it's sufficient, we will definitely implement that. Only thing we I mentioned this because it is a better, bigger stone. That's the only way, replacement of the stone which is existing right now versus this. Those are smaller stones. So that's why me and Dave, and we're talking that if this is a better, stronger stone, make with it. If it's
So
not
yeah,
so-
I think the
I will-
the plan that was approved under Graves, under the order of conditions, was for a smaller stone. If the plan now is to go with the bigger stone, it sounds like that will work really well once it's seated correctly.
Yeah.
It just needs to be submitted by
Okay,
some engineer.
engineers, so make sure that that critical piece, I put up this, so that we are putting a better stone, how we backfill it, geomat it, we bring up to 4 feet of level the way it is currently is, that should be sufficient.
Perfect, yeah.
I-
And then having
I want to get the agreement now that that will be
Yes,
sufficient.
and then having Dave on site to
Monitor.
survey it as you
Yes,
go would
yes,
be
yes.
perfect,
That
yeah.
is in order of conditions, that engineer will
Yes,
be on
yeah.
site, yeah. Right,
And
thank
then I would recommend that you are just on site taking photos pretty regularly, just so that,
Oh, yeah.
we can
I'm
kind of go
always-
back, yeah, absolutely, just so we
How
can
it
go
was
back and
built
kind of
up.
figure out,
you.
yeah,
You'll get it.
making sure it's all
Legally.
going right every step of the way.
'Cause I know Graves did exactly what you said. I mean,
Yes,
that's,
yeah.
that was the intent. So if something has changed, we should have a plan that
Yeah,
reflects that.
So
Okay.
that now I understand what you mean with changing
Okay.
plan, because the stone changed.
Yes, yeah,
All right.
perfect.
Are you good with that?
As long as the plan shows it's a retaining wall,
Okay,
that would be,
and we will get that.
For that.
And
And-
Alea will have that soon.
thank you.
Okay?
And then that emergency certificate should be issued tomorrow.
And then
for
I will
90
let
days.
Andy know when he comes on site. Is that
Mm-hmm.
sufficient, just to tell him that?
Yes,
The
yeah,
commission-
I will, I'll issue it tomorrow, and then I'll email a scanned copy to everyone, so everyone can have access to that.
Thank you very much,
Including
and if
Andy.
there's anything else that you need from me, please let me know.
Yeah,
I'm happy to
absolutely.
move forward quickly.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, and then we have correspondence.
I do have, I'm sorry, one more,
Oh.
request for an emergency certificate. The other one is for 10 Cary Circle.
Okay?
Um,
Tree removal.
Why is my computer being weird? Yes, it is for a tree removal. I'm not sure if, I'm not sure if the commission will be amenable to issuing an emergency certificate for this. A tree is clearly deceased on the property at 10 Cary Circle. The homeowner is concerned about the tree or branches of it falling, on his house, which is right behind the photo taker's perspective, or on his driveway and cars. There is a wetland located just down the slope from this, from the tree. The homeowner has been in contact with me about doing a larger filing in the future related to other work that he would like to propose. I think it'll be something to do with fixing the driveway and adding a path, or I don't know. But he was concerned about this tree. I did recommend a filing, and I will typically recommend that like an RDA or something be submitted and just kind of engulf any projects that can be done in that 3-year span, just so, I know we love seeing folks, but just so that they can see us once and be done, and
did
have
they-
all their projects covered.
Did they just acquire the property?
No,
So why is it an emergency? I don't
I'm
know.
not sure.
It's not an emergency.
Yeah, he should probably come in.
It didn't just die, right? So I think we want to see it over through an RDA.
Okay.
It's probably dead.
It's definitely dead.
Well, yeah, we know
Yeah.
it's
It
dead.
didn't die
Yeah.
yesterday.
But you know the issue we
Been dead
have
for a while.
with taking down trees, we give them permission to take down one dead tree, and then next thing you know, there's a
Well, this
dozen
was the
gone.
interesting thing too. I had written an enforcement letter to the property owner because it had been noted that other vegetation had been
Yeah.
removed, so I'm not sure why this very dead tree was not removed when
Right.
the other vegetation was illegally removed.
Right.
Now he is aware that there is a wetland and he should get permitting prior to doing things on the wetland. But yeah, I will let him
I
know.
wouldn't park there.
Yeah,
Yeah, just don't park
He did some, I was thinking maybe larger branches were falling. The photos that he submitted of the branches falling were not
Yeah.
terribly
Definitely
menacing looking.
needs to be dealt with, but it's,
Yeah.
the right way is with an RDA, I think.
Yeah, and with it on the slope, if it were to come down, it may come down towards the wetland.
Correct.
anyhow.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. I will let him know. And then the last item is the correspondence I received related to, jet skis on the lake. It sounds like,
Yeah.
Bob informed me prior to the meeting that, jet skis are not allowed on the lake per the Lake Quinsigamon Commission. But
no, they're definitely allowed on the lake, they're not allowed to be rented.
rented on the, okay, so I will.
I will definitely forward this to Peter Collins,
Okay, so I will forward it to Peter, and then I will also forward it, DC, all of our ramps are owned by the state, so I will forward it to
DCR.
DCR, because they would also be interested in whether or not they can do.
Well, they can't, the ramps are different than the lake, so this is on the lake, so it can't happen
Yeah.
unless the Lake Quinsigamon Commission grants a permit, which
Okay.
we have not done that ever,
Okay,
and I don't, in the foreseeable future, see that happening.
okey doke, awesome. I will let this human know. I think that
Mr.
is all I
Chairman?
have.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion we adjourn.
I'll second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned.